Okay, the name of this video is Why We Train. Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com here. This is my student Neil, and this is my student TJ. We're all good friends as well. We're out here in the midst of the COVID-19 coronavirus thing, doing some doing some Tai Chi. We're actually, this is our partner work practice. We're not doing the super close-in partner work. We've been working with partner weapons, keeping our distance, and breathing this beautiful fresh air on a lovely day out here, and doing our partner work from a little more distance than usual. But we're still training, and we were all three of us just commenting a second ago about how we're so grateful for these practices, because this is the kind of stuff that we train for. We basically train for threats to our balance. We train for things like this, where there's going to be pressure on us more than usual. And so I assume you guys have been practicing your solo forms and stuff. Absolutely. And Neil's going to a CrossFit gym a little bit here and there when he can get in. And we're still training, and we have our creative practices as well as our physical practices. And not going stir crazy, not going crazy with boredom, because we've got. Have you ever been bored?
Not recently.
Do you ever get bored?
Too much to do.
We've got stuff too much to do. Exactly. So in the spirit of why we train, I'm going to let TJ take the camera. Neil, let's sit down in the chair over here, like we were sitting at the concert. You sit on this side, and we were sitting.
We're going to reenact it.
We're going to reenact this. We were sitting closer in the actual than we were. But Neil was right next to me here. We went to go see Willie Nelson play. Willie. We went to go see Willie, and was it like a January 11th in Redding, California?
Redding, California.
And
front row.
We always do this. We do this the right way. We showed up 4 or 5 hours early. Got the best seat in the parking lot, nose out, right at the exit, right? It's a beautiful place. There's a civic center, there's a hotel, restaurant.
Sacramento River, right there.
Sacramento River, there's like an art museum, gallery, petting zoo, kind of little nature center. And then there's this beautiful sundial bridge. This great big thing with on one side of the bridge, there's this big spike, and then there's these strands that come down and hold the other end of the bridge. And it's a pedestrian bridge, and it's got these giant plexiglass squares that are the floor, kind of like the Yellow Brick Road and the Whiz. and they light it up at night. It's gorgeous. And so we walked over that thing. We hiked all over that place. We hiked for hours. Invited in a little bit of Willie's medicine.
Had to get in Willie's frame of mind.
Willie's frame of mind, exactly. And we ended up at the restaurant for dinner, and we look over at the next table. Who's sitting at the next table but Willie's kids, Lucas
and Micah, and Willie's wife.
And Willie's wife. They're having dinner. We say hi, and so we tell them we're fans. And Neil even laid a joint of homegrown on Micah.
It's the right thing to do.
Who happily accepted it. And so then we go into the show, right? And Neil.
We got
best Christmas present ever. We have front row center, right? So we're sitting front row center. Willie's like where you are. And we watched this great show. We were nervous that he was frail. People said he was really circling the drain. It might be his last show. But we're like, come on, Willie.
He's got 30 more years.
30. So we get there, and not only is he in good shape, he's in great shape. He crushed it. He's laughing. He's singing. He's telling jokes. He's doing great.
Tearing it up on the guitar.
Soloing on every song. So in fact, when the show was over and I was in the bathroom, I hear this guy go, "Holy shit, man! Did you see him play that fucking guitar?
Willie still got it!"
And the other guy, "We still got it, man! Even if he never sang a note." And we were like, "Yeah." So we're sitting there watching the show, and towards the end of the show, I'm watching Lucas play the guitar, and all of a sudden I look up, and Willie's like this, and I see the straw cowboy hat that Willie was wearing sailing over my head like he had thrown it into the audience.
This way.
Yeah, like this. And I'm sitting here like this, just kind of like, wow. And then all of a sudden, I see this guy.
I see it coming, looping back around. So
he launches up like Free Willy.
Woo! Above the old guys behind me who don't do box jumps. Training, man. You never know when you're going to need it.
Exactly. He sprung out of his chair. The thing went behind him a little bit, and he snagged it.
Over
pulled
two people's hands. They were a little upset. But.
Pulled it back. It fits perfectly. Another couple minutes later, Neil stands up and goes like this. The crowd goes berserk, and I was.
It was a great feeling.
I was so happy for you because you're a bigger Willie fan than I am, which is saying a lot. This is his 5th Willie show, maybe. So he's seeing that thing. And I'm thinking, oh, great, man, he got the fucking hat. We look at it, it's autographed. He got offered, what,
Thank you, Willie.
$500-600?
Oh, yeah, a guy offered me $500. And I said, fuck no. He said, $600? No.
No. So, okay, so we're watching, and then the show goes on, a couple more songs are left. Towards the end of the show, Willie grabs a handful of bandanas, right? He throws the bandanas into the crowd. Now, back in the day, they would have gone to row 5 through 20. But they
Same
went
with the hat.
pretty much rows 2 through 3.
They went, almost hit us.
Yeah. And I don't want to be a merch whore. My buddy got us front row seats.
I got the hat.
I wasn't going to struggle with somebody for a fucking bandana. But I'm sitting there, and I just turned, and one of the bandanas, I think we were standing at that point.
I think so, yeah.
We're standing.
It was the end of the show.
It was the ovation.
Yeah.
So we're standing, and one of the bandanas just lands on the chair behind me and just slips down. And while everybody's fighting over bandanas and stuff, I just reached down like a gentleman, and I just reached down and just picked one up and just stuck it in my pocket.
The yin and the yang.
Exactly. The yin and yang of preparation, preparedness. He was ready for it, and he sees the moment, and he's got a freaking autographed hat from Willie Nelson. I was more casual. I just reached in, I got my bandana, which is a great souvenir. So it's not always something crazy that we're training for. One time I was in a bar, and this guy tripped on something and tipped over, and I just slipped out of my stool and grabbed this guy and propped him up. I mean, he could have easily broken his wrist. He was looking through a camera. These moments come up, and sometimes something comes up like this crisis, and we're still able to practice. We're still able to stay relatively healthy. I mean, so far we're healthy, and we're doing our thing, and it's all really pretty cool. So here's another why we train story. I'm gonna let TJ tell this one. So what happened to you, bud?
Oh, what hasn't happened to me? But life, yeah. It's I train in this to become aware and create balance of situations and be able to give myself a cognitive, observational standpoint to things rather than just immediately reacting to stuff.
Right. Perspective.
Exactly.
A breath, take a breath.
In an area where, libation can get out in bars and people are like hanging out and having fun. Sometimes aggression and stuff can be taken too lightly or too heavily.
Right.
So I was in a bar with a lot of friends and people, and this kid came in, visibly aggressive, started harassing pretty much everybody, was told to leave several times by many people, including the bartender. Decided he didn't want to leave. The police were actually called at that point in time. Decided he still wasn't going to leave, and just from experience and working with, people and body language, I could tell that the guy was going to be aggressive to somebody, no matter what. He started approaching friends of mine who are not so mechanically or martially inclined.
Right.
I stepped in front of him, noticed that he was going to, make contact with me, and kind of just, didn't push him, but just allowed his body to make contact, which I knew would be all he needed to strike. He struck, and at that point was able to, rather than reacting, in a jerked fashion, was able to, just simply roll back and grab his arm as he tipped
Cat
my
wash his
glasses
face.
off,
Cat wash his face. He tipped your glasses.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
man.
how close he got,
Wow.
But that closeness actually gave me a better grip. I was able to turn his body very quickly and grab him by the back of the neck. And at that point, he was completely under my control, especially in his state, and was able to just walk him straight out.
Right on.
The police showed up a few minutes later, came in and asked, and they were just like, hey, are you the guy that, interacted with him? And I said, absolutely I was. And they said, well, sounds like a case of a guy gets what he deserved. And I said, could have got a lot worse.
Exactly. That was a case. So, just being ready for the moment, being ready for these kind of threats to balance it's why we train. It's why we do all the stuff we do, so that we can be helpful to others and helpful to ourselves. I often say this, like, I want to help myself have a happier and better life, and then I want to help others have a happy and better life, either directly through teaching or just through stepping in and and helping out, like when I caught the guy at the bar. And I can think of a million little things. Do you ever knock a plate off a plate off of a counter or something, you catch it on your foot, catch it on your foot before it goes to the guy. Yeah, you catch things on your feet, or you just have these little moments when you're, doing your job or whatever, and you have a second to use physical, just physical awareness and balance to fix the situation or help the situation. So that's why we do it. Neil came to class this morning on his electric bike. He lives in a nearby town. He's got to go up a super steep hill. He's got a long way to go, but he goes back and forth between electric and regular. And I've got my bike today, and so we do our best to stay in shape. We're not invulnerable. We're not, we're not cocky about it. We're not arrogant. We don't assume we're going to keep our balance, but we want to be ready for the next thing as it happens, so that we can respond and hopefully, help ourselves and help others have a better life. So you got the yin and yang of the Willie story, and then TJ's bar story, one of many. And we and Neil and I have got stories too, but those are the ones that came to mind. So that's why we train. Tell us why you train. And if you're not training in something, if you don't have a physical practice or a creative practice, I suggest you start one.
You got plenty of time on your hands.
Exactly.
Right now.
Or start both. Now is the perfect time to learn how to play the ukulele.
Accordion.
It's pretty easy. There's all these videos to help. There's loads of fitness videos on YouTube. There's nothing that you could want to learn physically that you can't find a YouTube video. All my friends who are older than I am, I'm 62, my friends who are older, who are vital and alive, people like Betty LeDuc and people like that, they all have a creative practice and a physical practice. At least one of the two, but probably usually both. You're doing the old person in your future a real favor if you train yourself in some kind of physical practice and some kind of creative practice. That's my advice and encouragement. So hope you all stay safe on this thing. Keep your distance. Let's weather this out. Eventually it'll run its course, and people will be a little sturdier for it, we hope. All right, take it easy. I'm going to finish with a beautiful pan of lovely Lithia Park, where we are lucky enough to practice. Those are plum blossoms right there. Yeah, tasty plums, not quite yet. They're blossom form, but take care and be well.